welcome to the Fantasy Hockey Hacks Hangout here on Edmonton Sports Talk. I am your host, Bruce Gunther. Joining me this evening, we have two guests. Our third one has computer issues. I'm sure we'll figure that out eventually. Joining us tonight, Devin Davidson. Welcome, Devin.
Hey, Bruce. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Yourself?
I'm doing good.
And also joining us, Evan Diebert. Welcome, Evan.
Hey, Bruce, Devin. How are you guys tonight?
Good.
Fantastic. We're not buried in snow yet, so it's all good. How you doing, Evan?
I'm good. Yeah, we got a stretch of ice cold weather out here in Calgary too. So it should all the outdoor rink guys. They all melted out here earlier in the year, but I don't know if they'll be able to get the muster going to get it back, get it going for the new year. But hopefully,
yeah, it's supposed to be pretty cold here for the next 3, 4, 5 days. So
yeah,
bundle up.
Weeks almost. Yeah,
minus 30 for the next 4 nights. So bundle up.
Yeah.
All right. We've got a great show for you tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about our Edmonton Oilers. I also have hacks highlights and hot or not. So I guess we should just jump right into the Oilers. We've got our second 8-game winning streak, and we are now in the second wildcard spot, if I remember correctly.
Still in the second wildcard spot.
Still. We'll get there. We'll get to the...
Yeah.
We're only 3 points away from LA, so we got a chance of catching them.
Well, if they keep playing the way they are, we'll more than catch them. We're going to pass those guys pretty quick, so it's good to see.
Would be very nice.
Chris Knoblauch apparently is the only coach in NHL history to have 2 8-game winning streaks in his first 25 games. So more fun from the Edmonton Oilers. Good to see. Not
bad at all.
No.
Well, not many coaches get to take over a team that talented that early in the season too. So it's it's been a big help, and the timing's been great for him to come in. But yeah, I feel like that bad start was very beneficial for the Oilers, and I think it'll pay off in the long run to kind of go through that adversity and work together.
Yeah, I don't think it hurt them in any way. It's all part of a team growing and learning, and you have to face some adversity before you can win, right? So it's
might as well get it out of the way at the beginning of the season.
Exactly, yeah. Better then than now. So,
although last night's game wasn't a Picasso by any stretch, but they still managed to win. So that's the...
Wow, Chicago, like they just coming off beating the Flames too. And they're sitting ducks. They got Seth Jones out, they got Bedard out. The rest of the team, like I don't even know who they're going to be able to send to the All-Star game now with Bedard out. But it just shows that the talent levels between, like, for pro hockey players in North America is so close that if you play a team game, you could win any night. Really, you don't necessarily need superstars.
Yeah, and I think the cap has really helped with that too, right? Just having more parity in the league too, but I'm curious to see what happens when they decide they want to expand the league again. And they were talking about 34 teams in the NHL. So what does that do to the talent pool and the level overall? Like, will you find some of those true terrible expansion franchises?
Well, with how they set up the expansion drafts, I don't know. It's just, they seem to be set up like some teams are probably sitting there being like, well, can we just be an expansion team? Can we just restart and just take everyone else's scraps and kind of build a team from there? But it'll be interesting if they do decide to expand. I think that's going into another topic, but yeah, no, it's nice to see that any team can win on any night.
Yeah, last night's game though was tough, as Bruce had mentioned. Did you guys both catch the game?
I didn't catch that one. No,
I just saw the highlights, but I was kind of following it along on Twitter or X, and everyone's kind of saying it's kind of slogging along. It wasn't really it's a pretty sloppy game, and
the sloppy game from the Oilers. Only 15 shots, Bruce.
It's like it's one of those trap games, right? It's like, all right, you look at the standings, you look at the teams, it's like, okay, yeah, these guys should be annihilating, and then, but like Evan said, you play a hard team game, which Chicago does, and
15 shots. Though. I don't even know how it's possible when you got the firepower the Oilers do, and then you look at the Hawks on paper, and
It's crazy.
Essentially like an AHL team, but
it should not have happened. And they said, actually, I think Jack Michaels was on the air on the broadcast, and he said it's only the second time, I think, since like 2020 that they've had fewer than 20 shots in a game. So I'd have to fact check that, but he said something to that effect. So the point being, though, 15 shots on goal is awful for this team. Like, it shouldn't happen. And
Chicago did it to them.
Yeah, of all teams, right?
Of all teams, right?
Like, if Tyler were here, he'd say that's a scheduled loss for the Oilers, right? Because you're playing a team that you should beat, but you just, in your mind, they're so terrible that your game just falls off, right? Like the Oilers used to do that to Chicago years ago, right? When the Oilers are terrible and the Hawks were winning all their cups, they'd come to Edmonton and Edmonton would surprise them. And maybe that's a bit of what happened last night. I'm not sure, but
I think anytime Chicago wins, that's the excuse that's given. It was a trap game. Happened to the Leafs earlier this year, and they still don't shut up about it. And then just happened, like I said, just happened to the Flames too. And the Flames were on a bit of a roll as well, so it's just kind of like, weird. Yeah, that's the Flames for you though. They win 3, lose 2, and lose 3, win 1. And that's just the story of their franchise for the last while, and I think it's going to continue.
The final minute of that game last night was really interesting. I can't remember who it was. I want to. No, I can't remember the player. Anyway, made like a diving glove save. I think it was on Nugent Hopkins on an empty net. Defenseman just dove in front of it with his glove, caught it, basically knocked it down. Hyman had a chance to score on an empty netter, couldn't do it. Like, they had so many opportunities in the final 60 seconds of that game, couldn't close it out.
But they had 2 goals called back too, did they not?
I might have missed the second one. They had one called back, and that was what I want to talk about, Bruce, was the offside. So you guys saw that highlight, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
And you probably saw McDavid's comments on the offside.
Yeah, I saw the comments before the highlight.
Yeah. Oh, man. So I agree. I think Connor nailed it. Like, to me, if it takes you 15 minutes to come to a decision on an offside review, what are we doing? Because that's, and I felt this way for a while, because it all started with Duchesne, right? That was really in the spirit of the rule. It was like, when a guy's 10 feet offside, there should be a review to challenge that, because that's obviously not okay. But when we're down to millimeters on the ice, did he break the plane? Does he have possession? And by the way, I feel like Draisaitl had possession on that puck. If you're going to give Makar in the playoffs, that play and call that possession, then how does Leon Draisaitl not have possession last night when he makes that play, which was a hell of a pass also to Connor and a nice finish from Hyman. But I just think that the whole point of it is being missed right now. It's not to like take away offense, right? That's really where it is. It's like it's now another tool for the coach to take a goal off the board. And the whole point of it was to make sure that there wasn't any egregious offsides.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree. It's tough because it's like whenever someone has that argument against, it's like, but if there's video evidence that shows that it was offside, whether it's by a centimeter or millimeter or whatever, you have to go with that now. That's the day and age we live with replays. That one was close. That one was really close. And I don't think there was enough evidence to overturn the call on the ice necessarily. Because you're looking at, like, I didn't see the straight on blue line angle. I saw the one kind of at the angle, at the 3/4 angle. But even then, you're right. It's taken away offense from the league, but it's also kind of like putting. Well, one thing I did like what they did was they changed the rule so that the skate could be off the ice. Right. I thought that was a good change, and I think they're probably getting closer and closer, but I can't think of a change that they could make they could make it so that it's, if it's close, it's good enough. So I think we're just kind of stuck with it, to be honest.
I think they could make some changes, and I saw some online today that, in my mind, made a little bit of sense. One was limiting the amount of time you can spend on the offside review. I think that probably makes some sense, or potentially only allowing like real-time replays. Because these guys are watching it from 18 different angles. They're slowing it down. Why do we have the officials? Why do we have the linesmen on the ice to make these calls if you're just going to watch the play from 18 angles and slow it down to 120 frames per second? Like, the game's not played at that speed, so why is it being evaluated at that speed?
I think the argument against that would be if if you have it only at real time, everyone else that's critiquing the call will be able to break it down and slow it down. And I think they want to protect the linesmen and the refs from getting the wrong call on the ice, and then a team being affected by that. We've all been there where our teams have missed the playoffs by a point or something. You can point to something that happened in the season. So it's, like I said, it's, limiting the time for sure. Like there should be a time limit and how long they can review it for. And that's about it, really. If it's, if the review shows that it's offside, the tough one is, defining what possession is. Like you use the Makar one. I think Makar one kind of opened everyone's eyes to being like, oh, you can do that. Cause I'm an Avalanche fan. That was in the playoffs against you guys.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, that was offside. No, that sucks. Cause that was a sweet shot. And and then they call it a goal and then they explain it. And I'm like, oh, and you can kind of watch the play with Makar there. I was like, it was brilliant. Like he knew exactly what he was doing too.
Yeah.
And with Draisaitl there, off his shin pad, hits his stick, bringing it back over. I think once it's on his stick, it was
really close.
If the puck's within 6 feet of Draisaitl, he has control of it no matter what. So,
you know what I mean? Yeah. And so that's where I agree. Like it's about possession and being, it has to be like something like McDavid said, where it has to be completely irrefutable evidence that it's offside. Like if you can't say definitively that was offside or that was not possession, then it should just be possession and move on, right? Like, I mean, why are we overthinking it? But
yeah, it definitely should be 100% evidence that either overturn or
one way or the other, right?
Ice. Yeah.
All right. Well, we kind of beat that dead horse, I think. But anyway, that makes my blood boil. But Stuart Skinner, let's talk about Stuart Skinner, because that's been one where we've had a lot of discussion around the Edmonton Oilers' crease this season. And Stuart Skinner now, in his last 15 starts, this is courtesy of Tony Brar of Oilers TV, is 13-2-0 with a .929 save percentage and a 1.93 goals against average with 2 shutouts. He's looked fantastic. And then actually Dusty from Edmonton Sports Talk commented and said the Oilers could actually win a Stanley Cup with that kind of goaltending.
Any team could win with that kind of goaltending.
Right? So I just thought, yeah, for sure. But it's just interesting because we just didn't expect this, right? I think at the start of the season, this was not happening. We were calling for goaltenders. And I think, Bruce, maybe you put the question in the notes, should they still be looking for a goaltender? Like, backup or otherwise?
I think they probably still should find someone to back up Skinner. That I think it's a mistake to expect Skinner to do this through the entire season. Like we're just about halfway through, but I think if you're going to expect him to do this through the rest of the season and into the playoffs, I think I don't think you get your head screwed on quite straight. He's still a young goaltender, and you know what? You ride him. The same thing is going to happen. What happened last year? He's going to start getting fatigued, and you didn't do so well in the playoffs. You got to find someone that can take some starts, and hopefully Pickard's that right now. Hopefully Pickard's that guy that can do that. He hasn't played that badly either in any of his games so far. So hopefully he can do that. And maybe they don't have to. They can go shop for something else, a defenseman or a forward or whatever the player of the week they need is. Corey Perry. I would be quite happy with that. I'll be honest.
You like that, Bruce? Like, would you look at acquiring Corey Perry for league minimum?
Absolutely. I would have no trouble with that whatsoever.
Evan, what about you?
I'd say, if Vegas doesn't beat you to them, they don't seem to be that adverse to bad press when it comes to signing or letting players go.
They don't care at all.
Nope. It's a business. Number one, we're here to win, and so I would say, I think any team that's like right there, because he's such a dog in the playoffs and he brings so much to the table. He's so much experience. He's gone to how many cup finals? Obviously, he met with Batman, and what he did was more embarrassing than it's what it sounds like. kind of
Yeah.
thing. Like it wasn't necessarily something that gets you banned or gets you suspended from the league per se. So he's licked his wounds, and I think a team will come knocking. And so Oilers could work.
The Oilers aren't afraid to go there. They did it with Evander Kane. They did it with Zach Cassian.
And it's worked, right?
and it's
Both
worked.
times they tried it, it's worked. And for me, I think Corey Perry's an upgrade on a number of players in their bottom six.
Yeah.
Right. And just
and really-
more, and more so for what you said, Evan, in the playoffs. Like he doesn't have to be a world beater in the regular season. We just need a guy like that to cause some problems for the other team in the playoffs. Well,
this guy can sit PP1 on any time and on any team and be effective too. And so he's the type of player that's able to be put into any lineup and will make them better.
And even too, if he needed to, he could even play in the top six. Like he's shown that he can do. He can still do it.
Yeah. Well, and he's going to be motivated as well. And he's
absolutely.
It's if he gets a second chance, which would be great for him, because that's probably a tough way to go out on your career.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
And I think his game too is just more suited for the playoffs. Like if you're going to get him, you need to have somebody on the wing that has some speed, or a center with some speed. But he could cycle the puck, right? Like that's a guy that that's more his game. I think he's never been a burner, right? So, but he's got good hands.
And you guys need those bottom six guys too with the Oilers. Like, it's like as a Avalanche and Bruins fan, like I think he would fit in well. Like I said, he'd fit in with any team, but teams that are like struggling to get scoring from their bottom six could definitely use that boost.
Yeah,
and too, he's shown he can put up points playing practically anywhere in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For me, the Oilers still need to address, like, I'd like to see another top six winger at the deadline, because I think they need to find somebody to play with Draisaitl that's not Warren Fogle or, one of those guys. Like, nothing against Fogle. He's been great this year by his standards. But I think they could upgrade that position somehow. Maybe center depth, I'm not sure. And then a defenseman. They didn't upgrade on CC. I think that's the other thing. If you could move CC out somehow and bring in another defenseman, just maybe someone more physical, a better stay-at-home defenseman, something like that, just to help out
defenseman that can defend. I've been saying that for like 3 years now. They need defensemen that can defend.
Yeah, like Gavrikov, that would have been a nice one. He was never coming here because he didn't want to play in Canada, but Gavrikov from Columbus last year to LA, I thought was a nice option. He would have been great in Edmonton. There's been talk about Adam Boquist. I don't think that's the play, but
I'd like to see someone like, and we probably already have someone like, they just see someone like Gudis come to Edmonton.
Yeah,
although Desharnais is probably as close as we get, but someone like that just is a defender and he's mean and nasty. That's what
we like got that with Ekholm last year, and so that was that was a great pickup. But yeah, another one of those, having a couple bruisers like that, and then you got Bouchard carrying the offense a bit. And if you could have CC slide into that bottom pair, that would be ideal. I don't know off the top of my head. I haven't gotten into trade deadline mode yet to see what UFA defensemen or forwards are available this year. But
we can save that for another day. But I just off the top of my head, I saw some things, and I think Bob Stauffer is talking about it too. So they got to make a few tweaks, though, for sure. They'll be active at the deadline, because I think with some adjustments, this could be the year. Although, Evan, I'm sure the Avs will have something to say about that, and so will Vegas. And there's some pretty good teams in the East, too. So
it's pretty leaky in the West. Like no team is really, I shouldn't say that, because the Jets and the Canucks.
And I forgot about those two, too. Yeah.
It's hard to say if they're like pretenders or not, but both are rolling so good right now. One thing we were talking about with Skinner there that I didn't mention was you guys were going with a 1A, 1B. Like that was the plan. You got Campbell, you got Skinner and all that. And so now with Campbell out of the picture, getting another goalie in there just to secure things is something that Holland really needs to address, because something happens to Skinner, season's over right there.
They're in big trouble.
Basically,
yeah.
You get Pickard with Campbell backing him up. That's not a good combo.
Oh boy, that gets ugly quick.
And it's funny, a team like Detroit has like three of the best advanced goalies in the league, and they got 3 of them. And so, with Montembeault, Primo, who was great tonight versus Philly, and Jake Allen, and if you could pluck one of those guys, but I think Montreal seems to be dead set on just hanging on to them all. So
yeah, they'll have to make some changes. I mean, Detroit's another team has 3 goalies they're carrying. I wouldn't mind Mackenzie Blackwood. We've seen what he's done on a terrible team against some really good opponents this year. Like, for me, as a 1B behind Skinner, Mackenzie Blackwood isn't a terrible option, I don't think. I love, now that I've had time to look at this and see how Montembeault's play this year, I agree, Evan. Montembeault's been really good for Montreal. That's a guy you'd like to see, but I don't think Montreal wants to let him go.
No, he's the placeholder for now. Yeah, he's probably their number one, and Primo's look good, and Allen just seems like the ultimate team guy, and I feel like they just want to hang on to him and slide him into the front office at some point.
Yep.
Yeah.
We can dream that Nashville's just going to bring up Askarov and give us Saros, and we'll move on, but I don't think that's happening.
But goalies are so fickle.
For sure.
Exactly.
Talking about Skinner being, falling off the face of the earth a month and a half ago, and now he's the hottest goalie in the league, and you never know what you're going to get, really.
One goalie to that point that's been just consistent year in and year out is Connor Hellebuck, and he's a big reason why the Jets have been so good.
Yeah, they're knocking on NHL record here, and so it's three goals or less allowed in 30 straight games for the Jets as a team.
Holy crap!
Yeah, the record's 35 by the Wild. So
wow.
Yeah.
Part of it's just they got a big and mean defense, Bruce, like you had said.
Yeah, that's what I like.
Yeah, everyone carries the mail there. Well, all defensemen can skate nowadays. So if you can get them big and can skate, you look at Vegas last year. It's just that's a bit more of the recipe.
When you look at what even though Chicago's not that great this year, look at their defense core. They're all over 6 feet. Over 6 feet. They're 6'2", 6'4". Like, they're all big.
Yeah.
And that's what you want.
Well, Bruce, should we try and get through around the league before the break?
Think we can do it in 5 minutes?
Let's see. I don't know.
Well, the first one's pretty easy for starting for around the league. William Nylander. This could kill 5 minutes all on its own.
Probably.
He got his contract, 8 years, $11.5 million a season for the next 8 seasons. The Leafs now have 4 forwards signed to contracts of $10 million plus per season. Based on the salary cap going up to $87 million next year, they are just over 50% of their salary cap tied up in 4 players.
It's too much.
So they have, now if you take Nylander off the board, they have 11 RFAs at the end of the season, and $21 million to sign those players. There's going to be basically those 4 guys, Morgan Riley, Joseph Wall, maybe Martin Jones, and a whole lot of Marlies. That's basically all they're going to have till the Tavares contract comes off. So, what do you guys think?
That's just the price of doing business in Toronto, I guess. Like, it just seems to be the status quo there. These guys get paid top dollar, and the Leafs they refuse to move any of them. And so I don't know if it'd be more advantageous for them to spread things out and try to get a couple defensemen, $6 million defensemen, things like that. But it's tough. You get a homegrown guy like Willie Nylander, and he wants to play there, and he's earned that contract. Like, him at 11.5 times 8 is not a bad deal around the league. When you already have Matthews making 13 and change next year, and Marner and Tavares both making roughly 11, that makes it tough to fit everyone else in. Like, all your numbers there. The quick math I had was with those 4 plus Riley, they have 54 mil tied up, and so they have 33 mil for the rest of the roster. So it's gonna be a tight squeeze, but like you said, Tavares is coming off the books, so that should kind of they just kind of like shuffle spots between Tavares and Nylander for what their contracts are worth. And then, they just got to roll it. Those guys have to carry the mail and try to win them a Stanley Cup. There's no excuses. There's no extra help coming with the cap space.
There's no help coming.
No.
Yeah.
So guys like Matthew Nye is going to be important moving forward, and Joseph Wall is going to be important. They're probably going to try and sign a guy like Martin Jones again, right? They just a cheap second goaltending option. I don't love it. Like, I think you're right, Evan. It's a good enough deal, I guess. It's a fair deal if you look at market value. But in the situation the Leafs are in, like, to sign him for 11.5, and it's comical because they wanted to sign him for like 9 in the summer, and then he has potentially the best stretch of his career in the first half of the season. And now it's like, well, now you're going to pay me even more money. So I don't know. I don't know that it's going to work out for the Leafs, but good for Nylander.
He's always bet on himself. He did on his last contract. He sat out for the first 4 months on his last one to get what he wanted. So
yeah, I
don't think this year, I don't think it would have been any different this go around either. I think he would have held out but he didn't have to. So we'll see what the Leafs can do with it. That'd be fun to pick on the Leafs for a while.
Well, you know what? Like, if you're a Leafs fan, your player wants to play there. You signed him. You know, the cap hits are rough, but you guys got it coming up with Draisaitl too. You know, and he comes around the bend. He wants 14, whatever. You pay him. You're happy to keep him. You know, he's your guy, and at the end of the day, it is entertainment, and so you get to watch some of the best players in the world, and so it's tough, right? You know, it'd be tough to be a Leafs fan with that kind of thing, and kind of like, but also you get, these are all like elite players that they get to have play on their favorite team. So
and the cap's going up too, right? So I mean, it might look a little rough the first couple seasons, but as things continue to progress, it's going to look a little more favorable.
Well, they're going to get through next season, right? So next year is Tavares' last year at $11 million. He'll probably I'm guessing he'll take a very friendly deal to keep playing with the Leafs after that. So they'll get a lot of cap space back there.
Yeah, I figured the Leafs have about, like, they'll have like a 3 or 4 year window. You know, obviously when Matthews' contract is up, then things are out. But these guys will be in their prime for that time period, and so, and everyone thought the Atlantic was going to be so strong with these teams coming up, like Detroit, Ottawa, Buffalo. It just hasn't happened yet. So we're kind of waiting for the changing of the tide there. But it'll be interesting to watch, kind of how it all unfolds.
Most definitely.
We got just under 2 minutes here, Bruce. What do you want to dig into? The trade?
We can dig into I'm looking at the live clock, so I'm out.
I'm looking at the actual time, so we'll take a break at 10:30.
Okay.
Or 9:30 Mountain Time.
All right. Do we want to dump into the trade, or do we want to go to talk about Zegras for?
Maybe let's go Zegras, because that's a quick one.
So, rumor has it, or what's been posted here is, as we talk about the trade here after the break, Zegras is possibly available on the trade block from Anaheim, which kind of took a little bit of everyone's surprise. And of course, he also got injured last night too. So I don't know what is Zegras worth on the trade market, guys? Is he a problem?
I don't know if he's a problem per se. I just don't think, like, I think his rep is higher than the quality of player he is necessarily. Like, he's flashy, don't get me wrong, very skilled, but I just don't see that elite player. He's a good player, but I just don't see it as much as he's like praised to be, like the super skilled forward. He's not in the Patrick Kane threshold and that kind of thing. So, and you know, like, his two-way game has improved this year by all accounts, but his offensive production hasn't been there either. And so I don't see it.
We got about 5 seconds here, but let's dig into that some more after the break here, because I agree with what you're saying there for sure.
Cool.
And welcome back to the Hacks Hangout here on Edmonton Sports Talk. I'm trying to do tech support with John here, doing this at the same time. So here I'm hammering away on my phone. It's like, oh crap, I got to do something. So, Trevor Zegras. Oh, Devin, what were your thoughts on?
Yeah, just quickly, I agree with what Evan's saying. I think he's a good player. Like, he's a top 6 forward, but there's been some concern about his defensive game. Like you said, Evan's gotten better this year, but he's not an elite level player in my opinion, right? Like there's lots of potential. I would agree that his rep or his reputation around the league was definitely higher, and so there's some of that still, I think, but I'm not giving up a ton for that player. I'm also not surprised that he's on the trade block, just given how the whole situation went in training camp and with his contract negotiation and on and on. So I don't think that the Ducks value him super highly either, just the way things have appeared publicly. So it'll be interesting to see what he gets in return in some eventual deal.
Yeah, as was all. I guess we jump into that here. Next is the trade. So the Ducks traded Jamie Drysdale and a second round pick in 2025 to Philadelphia for Cutter Gauthier, which took everybody by surprise.
Yeah, Evan, I think you're probably the most qualified of the three of us to talk about Cutter Gauthier. So maybe give us your thoughts, or the listeners your thoughts on him and what you see for Drysdale in Philly. I think what I heard was that Tortorella is going to put him on the second power play unit to start.
Yeah, that's about right for him. I don't necessarily, he does have the skill set. He could be a power play one guy, but they got Sanheim, who's doing well in Philly there, and so, and you don't necessarily want to rush him in too much. And Drysdale, he had a great rookie year with the Ducks as an 18-year-old, injured all last season, and contract dispute this summer. Got a deal done, and then had some injury problems again this year. Great player, great skater. A lot of upside to him to be a solid, like, number 3, number 4 defenseman. And for Cutter Gauthier, former 5th overall pick. He has having a great year at Boston College this year. Was fantastic last year at the World Championships. Top forward for the World Juniors here, and had a great tournament. Now, with all this, it's all the drama surrounding it. Like, from what I understand, like, Elliot Friedman kind of set the record straight on a bit of, like, saying on Cutter's side of what happened. So what happened last year apparently is that after the Boston College season was finished, Cutter wanted to go pro and join the Flyers, and the Flyers told him, not this season. We don't want the cap bonus overage, which is only like $92K for next season. But really, I think what they were doing, they didn't want him to burn a year of his entry level deal. Mm-hmm. And so at the time when Boston College year was finished, I think Philly had somewhere between like 25 games or so left in their season. So, and for a player at 19 years old coming out of college, needs to play 9 games to burn a year of the entry level deal. So obviously that didn't go well with Cutter, and between that and apparently he's a Pens fan growing up, so he already had a disdain for the Flyers. He's buddies with Kevin Hayes, so wherever that meant, with what Hayes told him about his time in Philly. So he basically told the Flyers to shove it, and I don't want to be a Flyer and trade me, and that was it for him. And the Flyers couldn't talk to him for almost a season, or since that moment at the end of last year, and he just wouldn't speak with him. And so they were just left to having to trade him. Now the Flyers having to air their dirty laundry to everyone, I think it was a bad look for them at the end of it all. They didn't need their GM, president, and CEO to come out and comment on how Cutter didn't want to talk to them, or didn't want to be a Flyer. So it seemed like a bit of a damage control. I think for me, like, the moral of the story is, if you have an elite 5th overall NCAA prospect that wants to sign with your team, you sign him. You don't leave it up to chance with that, because he could just stay in college and become a UFA over time too. And so yeah, that's that's how she all went, or at least what's available to us, and where the truth lies is probably somewhere in the middle. But Anaheim got a great player, and actually, I think Cutter Gauthier. I think what they're kind of doing is connecting the dots that he might make Zegras expendable for them, because he fits that Verbeek mold for sure too.
Yeah, I like the return for Anaheim. I don't like the fact that he's in the Pacific Division. We have to deal with Cutter Gauthier at some point.
Well, and he was on a sorry,
go ahead. Bruce. No, you go ahead, Bruce.
Hey, I just he was on Cutter was actually on a Anaheim Ducks podcast earlier this evening. Actually, yeah, I don't know if the full episode has come out yet, but they were promoting that he was on going to be on a Ducks themed podcast. So talk about how excited he is to join Anaheim. So that could be that could be an interesting listen.
Going from Philly to Southern Cali, I'm sure he's just thrilled.
Yeah. Yeah. And being a Pens fan, like, that's a tough pill. You can imagine growing up an Oilers fan and getting drafted by the Flames, and then all these things happening, and be like, well, guys.
It'd be tough. Yeah, I think for me, that would just be like, that'd be the nail in the coffin. Like, they would just be one more reason for me not to want to play for that team. But at the end of the day, if you're good enough, like, only 700 players every season get to play in the NHL. So if I get a chance to play, I'm going to play for whatever team drafts me and gives me a contract, to be honest, unless there's like some real serious reasons not to. But yeah, I don't know. Tough situation.
Messy. Tough for Philly fans too. That's that was a big piece to go along with Michkov up front there. So they have to do some more retooling. But hey, it makes them better in the short term, and Philly keeps rolling. They won again tonight. So
yeah. And Drysdale got a power play assist tonight as well.
There you go.
Yeah. And for him.
All right. Talking about rookies. Next one up on the list is Jesper Wallstedt. Called up by the Wild. He got the start tonight in Dallas. And, well, let's just say it didn't go well. Granted, he didn't get much help in front of him, but gave up 7 goals on 27 shots. The Wild lost 7-2. A rough way to enter the league.
Yeah, that's an ugly one. That's a tough team to put your rookie goalie up against for your first ever start too. The Stars, they're quite the juggernaut on the offense, but he's had a good year in the A again this year. A little better stats than last year, and he's only 21-year-old goalie, and so I'm just give him a taste of the show and see what it's like. But yeah, he'll be back.
Yeah, he got delivered to the Wolves tonight. Yikes! As one commentator on X put it, the Wild game has the players only meeting after the game all over it. It was that bad. So.
Oh really? Ouch.
Yeah. So, moving on from that, next one I had on the list here was the New Jersey Devils injury woes. Jack Hughes is out again week to week, upper body injury. He's joining Dougie Hamilton, who's probably out for the season. Timo Meier should be back, I think, within a week or so. Andrei Palat, Thomas Nosek, Jonas Siegenthaler, they're not having a great season. They were hoping to contend, and they're between getting injured and their goaltending being suspect. It's just hasn't been a good season for the Devils. Not like we all anticipated anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be okay eventually. Maybe not this season, but they've got lots of good young players, and I have to believe Timo Meier is going to be better. Like, it's just strange to me that a guy that can score 40 comes over to New Jersey and
can't do anything.
There's an adjustment period, right? We've talked about it lots. Yeah. We've seen it lots in past trades, past deals. It takes some time, right? Imagine if you were working, in San Jose and you got shipped across the country to go work somewhere else, and it's like new boss, new building, new life, right? Like, it just takes time to get adjusted to things. And I know it's hockey and they get paid millions to do their job, but it's like they're still people, right? So,
well, and it's different. Like for Timo in particular, and a lot of guys that are fresh off of signing a big contract, there's a different mentality of like working hard to earn that contract versus the pressure of once you get it to live up to that contract. Like it's not like they're not trying or anything like that. It's just like the mental shift is tough because rather than it being pressure in that sense, it's, so, but yeah, Jersey, that's a tough year. They have too many good pieces for it not to work. Like you said, Devin, it might not be this year, might not be their year. But yeah, coming around the bend, Devils are one of the top teams in the East for sure.
I thought if they could have grabbed Connor Hellebuck out of Winnipeg, that would have really just put them into the conversation. Like they would have been right there.
I don't know what that package looked like because that contract's even looking good right now too. But yeah. Well, goalies like him just are not available very often. That's the thing. Like he's been steady since he entered the league, and so.
And he's still not even that old. Like is he 29? Like he's not an old guy.
Well, I reckon the Chevy's a lot like Cheveldayoff with the Jets is a lot like me when it comes to fantasy hockey and trading. We do very few moves, and when we do, we make sure that we squeeze every penny out of the whoever we're trading with. So so he probably had a very high price on Helly, which is understandable too.
Well, it's fair.
Trading goal like that,
yeah.
Hellebuck is 30.
Yeah, I was off a little bit.
Would have been perfect. Would have been perfect for their window, 6 years, 7 years. I think he probably has it in him. So,
no, most definitely. Mr. Connor Bedard. I call it the Connor Calder curse. Fractured jaw, out 6 to 8 weeks. Is that going to kill the Calder for Connor, or is he going to have enough time here at the end of the season to regain the Calder trophy, or is it all but gone for him now with this injury?
I think it has to all but be gone. And I'm going to tell you why, because the year that Nugent Hopkins was Calder eligible, same situation. I think he had a better points per game season than Landeskog, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he did. And part of the reasoning from the media was he couldn't win it because part of winning the Calder is you have to show durability, which I think is garbage. But I've heard that from numerous media members saying you have to play a full season, or you can't play 40 games and win the Calder trophy, right? McDavid, same thing in his rookie year. Did he play 45 games or something like that?
Yeah.
By far the best rookie in his class, did not win the Calder because he played 45 games. So, you know what? Bedard's been phenomenal. He's on pace for 69 points, and he has 15 goals through 39 games. Like, should have been the runaway winner for the Calder, but now he's how many games is he going to finish the season with?
Yeah, well, if he's out, so we'll say 6 weeks. So that's, like 20-ish games. So he'll still get 60 games in. So if he can be a point per game at that point, I think just with the publicity and everything around him, I think he still has a chance to snag the Calder, but he would have to come back. Now, as far as injuries go, this is as good of an injury as you could get because it just doesn't affect anything else with your play. It's just healing up bone in his jaw. And so, I don't know, maybe I was hoping we get some bubble Bedard, like some old World Juniors magic going again. My nephew wanted a bubble for playing hockey, and I'm convinced it's because of Bedard last year. So he brought the bubble back.
And I guess I'll correct myself a bit. I'm not saying he has no chance. I just don't think he will. Like, I think depending on what we see from some of these other candidates, but it's been a common theme, right? If they don't play,
which is fair,
70 games, like they just don't seem to give him the Calder. And I trust me, from a guy who cheers for the Oilers, and I've seen it, I don't think that's right, but it just seems to be the case.
Good. And you said McDavid played 45 games?
I think season? I'd have to. I'll look it up right now, but I think that's roughly what he played.
Yeah. So 45 is that's like half the season. If he could play 60 games and still lead rookies in scoring, I think that solidifies.
There's a conversation there, yeah. But what if he plays 50, right? What if it's 8 weeks and he plays like 50 games?
50 games and still leads them in scoring though. Like that's the thing.
And will he, right? Like who's in the Calder right now? Because that's the thing too, is I haven't really looked at the Calder race recently. So
like Marco Rossi's having a good rebound for forwards. So Marco Rossi's having a good rebound year. I think he's got like 24 points in, like 38-ish games. Fantilli's got like 23 points in about the same amount of games. So like no one's really lighting it on fire. The two candidates that I would lean to are what Brock Faber's doing in Minnesota.
Agreed.
Is really impressive.
Yeah.
Like the minutes that he's playing in all situations, plus he's putting up half a point a game. He's got 20 points in 40 games.
Yeah.
And then the other guy, well, with his brother Jack being out, but Luke Hughes is another guy. He's taking that power play one spot. He's got 23 points in 38 games, which is great for a rookie defenseman. And so those would be my two front runners if Bedard's out of the equation. So,
you took the words right out of my mouth, Evan. I think that's fantastic because I agreed. Brock Faber, he looks like a stud already, right? He's just massive minutes. And I think it's way harder to come in as a young player and play defense and learn that position at the NHL level than it is to play forward. And I think that comes into it too. Because didn't Aaron Ekblad win the Calder in his rookie year too?
Yeah, I think so.
I have no idea.
That's a good question. Yeah.
I'll look that up too, but I think I want to say he did too. But anyway, point remains. I think it's just they have a good chance if they continue playing the way they have been, putting up offense, playing tough minutes. Somebody said Brock Faber is playing like, is it 40% of his ice time against elite competition?
Oh wow!
Yeah, he's been fantastic. Like it's makes the right play all the time. Super smart. Wild fans absolutely love him. It's crazy that LA let him go. I don't know if he didn't want to sign in LA or if they. I don't think he asked for a trade from LA, but yeah, pretty.
That was the Fiala trade, right?
I think, we had that conversation with Ryan, I think, last week or the week before. I think that was part of the Fiala trade. And
it was the Fiala trade. So, yeah, you got to give to get, I guess. Yeah. But I guess that's turned out to be a good trade for them, too.
Confirmed Ekblad did win the Calder in his rookie year.
Okay.
There you go. And the next guy we had on this, we kind of beat this one to death already, too, was Corey Perry. So he's eligible to return to the NHL after he requested the meeting with Gary Bettman. So I guess just to get things squared away, and he can be signed anytime. He has to be signed before the trade deadline, March 8th, so he's eligible for the playoffs. But other than that, it's open season on Corey Perry. I think we've pretty much covered already where he'd possibly land.
Yeah. No, he's going to get signed somewhere. It's just a matter of when and with who.
It's a matter of time.
Yeah.
Let's slide into our hot or not segment here. Our first guy on the list, we've also talked about quite a bit tonight already, was Mr. Stuart Skinner. Devin rattled off the stats here earlier.
Well, these are a little different here too, Bruce. So the ones I rattled off are his last 15, but in his last 6, 1.16 goals against, a .967 save percentage, and a shutout. So 17 wins are 5th in the NHL, and 2 shutouts are 4th in the league. So really, really impressive in his last 6. Some of those games against lesser competition. I did read somewhere as well, the Oilers have the second easiest schedule, I believe, in the second half of the season. So
nice.
That bodes well for Stuart Skinner and for the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, this month in particular, you guys have a beauty schedule. 3 games a week. They're all the same day of the week. All right. No back-to-backs, I don't think. So it's, I would not be surprised if you guys start leapfrogging teams here pretty quick.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. Next guy on the list here, also a goaltender from Alberta, Mr. Jacob Markstrom. So we got here 3 wins, 4 quality starts in his last 4 games. 253 goals against average, .926 save percentage. Calgary is 18-18-5 and just 2 points out of a playoff spot. So that kind of makes their March fairly interesting too, to see which way, if they just manage to be just in or just away from a playoff spot, if they'll push or if they'll decide to back away and sell everything off.
I expect they will not.
Yeah, it's so tough. It's so tough. Like Conroy's put in such a tight spot here to like choose a direction, and then who knows what's coming from ownership and the president and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Markstrom's had a great bounce back year. I expect it to continue. They need to give him a big bulk of the crease in Calgary. Vladar has been a little wishy-washy this season, and so yeah, it'll be a lot will depend on where the Flames go in direction here. Like, are they moving some of these UFAs? There's a rumor the other day from Eric Francis out in Calgary here that they're gonna sign Hanifin again to a big price tag for like 7.5 times 8. That's the rumor he put out, which is steep, but like good defensemen cost money. You guys like how much is Ekholm's contract with you guys?
Oh boy, good question.
6.25, I think.
6.25. So that's a good deal. So yeah, Hanifin's a little bit younger, probably quite a bit younger than Ekholm. Doesn't have as much snarl, but has maybe a little more offense to his game. But and then
sorry, Ekholm said 6 million even.
6 million even.
Yeah, Ekholm's 33 and Hanifin's 26.
Yeah, so that's a
big difference.
Yeah, that's how old he'll be when the contract's pretty much up. So Hanifin's got a lot of miles on him. Hard to believe he's only 26, but it's
639 games already in his career.
I know. Yeah, it's hard not to pay a guy like that, but
yeah. Well, especially since there was a lot of talk that he wanted out, right? So I'm a little bit surprised that they're kind of having those conversations, and they've got Dustin Wolf waiting too. So it's like, how long do you wait to give that guy an opportunity? Like, Vladar will be gone next season, I'm sure, but because he hasn't been very good. Vladar has not been good this year. But I just wonder at what point, if you're the Calgary Flames, you just decide to break it down, move out some UFAs. There's been lots of interest in Elias Lindholm. Like, that's a guy that you could get a lot for that guy, right? So
it'd be a good start. They're just stuck. They're so stuck with those two big contracts on aging players in in Huberdeau and Kadri. They've had some good youth come up this year. A little bit more role players that are maybe playing a bit over their head, and with Pospisil and Zari, and then they got Coronado in the wing. So they have some good young pieces. But I just don't think they have the okay from ownership to do a rebuild. Like, it was staring them in the face when Johnny and Tkachuk left, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
So if they're not going to do it then, I don't think they'll do it now. And when it comes to a guy like Hanifin, like not wanting, like rumor had it he wanted to go play in America, and I don't understand why he wouldn't explore, because I think he gets 7.5 on the open market.
And
no problem.
Maybe somewhere in a tax-free state.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was kind of one of the crazy things. Like, I was listening to Chicklets, and Ryan Whitney brought up how Matthew Tkachuk takes home more money at $9.5 million in Florida than Nylander takes home with 11.5 in Toronto.
Yeah.
Which is just wild what players can sign for and help their team and still make more money than they would elsewhere.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. Calgary only has 2 defensemen signed at the end of the season, Uyghur and Anderson. Otherwise, their entire defense core is UFA sans Yan Kuznetsov, who's an RFA. But otherwise, everyone else is a UFA at the end of the year. Tanev, Osterley, Simone, and Gilbert.
I could see them trading Lindholm, Tanev, keep Hanifin, and try to just replenish from free agency and just kind of do like a quick little
do the
spin
same
cycle.
thing over and over again.
Yeah. But Lindholm doesn't want to be there either, obviously.
No.
Like, he's turning down those massive contracts that are rumored to be offered to him there. And so it's just like, and there's nothing against Calgary. Players want to play in Calgary, but it's just, I think it's just a bit of a stink with the Flames organization, really. And just like how they're just kind of like really stuck, and they're not contenders. They're not rebuilders. They're just what they are.
They've been in that mushy middle for a long time, and they refuse to get out of it, right? They finish 10th in the West every year, it feels like, and then they don't get the high draft pick, and it's like Groundhog Day in Calgary.
It's an ownership issue. It really is. Like, living in the city, knowing Flames fans, and Murray Edwards, just he doesn't want to go through the pain of the rebuild. He wants to try to get that playoff money.
But you could do it in like 3 or 4 years now. It feels like if you do it the right way, if you draft well, you could do a rebuild in 3-4 years. Like lots of teams on the fly have done it, right?
They had the perfect opportunity, like post, like from that Kachuk trade, even with what they got from Florida, they could have flipped Huberdeau because he was making 5.6 or whatever for that last season. Could have flipped him coming off a 115-point season. Uyghur, they could have flipped. So that's like probably 3 firsts right there, plus a couple prospects. And then you had Backlund, Lindholm, Hannafin, Markstrom. They could have walked away with a king's ransom and draft picks and prospects and been planning for when they open their new arena here in 2027. Be like, hey, that's the day we're going to try to be good for.
But Michael Backlund is a guy that if you're a contending playoff team, you absolutely want a guy like that. Like they would have got a lot for Michael Backlund at a trade deadline.
Well, there'd be a bidding war for him. Yeah. Because he's exactly the kind of guy that a lot of teams are just thirsty for, that perfect third line center.
Fun times. Do you guys see my socks?
No, I can't see your socks. What's on them?
Matthew Tkachuk Calgary Flame socks.
Oh, jeez. Why do you have those, Bruce?
My wife is helping friends of theirs. They're cleaning up, and they found them in one of the boxes, and they didn't want them, so they asked her if she wanted them. So I said, I'll take them. I'll give them to Tyler as a present or something like that.
Oh, geez. I mean, you're probably not the first person to want to walk all over Matthew Tkachuk. So there
you go. All right. Next guy on our hot list, who was, I think, on our cold list last week or the week before, Mr. Alex Ovechkin. So as it says here, it wasn't too long ago we were discussing Ovechkin as part of our not list. Things have turned around for the 38-year-old. 9 points, 3 goals in his last 10 games. Giving some nervous fantasy managers, yours truly included, some reason for optimism. Shot rate and shooting percentage are still relatively down compared to career averages, and a 5.9% TEVIS shows that more positive regression should be expected. Be patient. It's all you can be, because all I'm getting is low ball offers for him. So.
Yeah, he's still hitting a ton, Bruce, and he's starting to put up some goals here now. So it's I don't know. I don't have a lot of. There's not a lot to love in Washington, but it's still Ovechkin, and he's still got some juice left. So,
and they're not that far out of a playoff spot, which is surprising.
Yeah, they have been a surprise. They had a tough time as a team putting up goals this season too, and so it's been across the board. It's been rough, and probably led from Ovechkin and Kuznetsov just kind of like falling off the face of the earth. But I think a lot of the problems with Ovechkin is like just refusal to like, well, he hasn't slowed down that much, but it's like tempering expectations too. Like he's a 38-year-old, forward, entering the twilight of his career. And so, him being what he's been for the last, month and a bit is probably closer to it, like a little bit less than a point per game player, puts up, 35 goal pace or so. So I think that's kind of close to what you'll see for the rest of the way this season.
We just blew by our break here, guys. So do you want to take a quick 2-minute break here, or do you want to just push through?
Let's take a break.
Okay. Give me a second here. We will take a short break and be back in a couple minutes.
And we're back here at the Hacks Hangout on Edmonton Sports Talk. We were just talking about Alexander Ovechkin. Just saying to be some positive regression is coming, to be patient. I'm old, so I can be patient. See, the next guy on our hot list is Mr. Cole Perfetti from the Winnipeg Jets. So as disappointing as Pierre-Luc Dubois has been, is he later in the list?
Yeah, so this is kind of a 2-for-1 deal here, Bruce. We can maybe just cover off both guys at the same time, because I think there's always going to be that comparison drawn just because of the trade. So we'll hear Perfetti's been 5 points, 4 goals in his last 3 games. Just 22 years old, on pace for nearly 60 points. He's averaging about 14 and a half minutes a game. Shot rate and category coverage is a little bit to be desired, but as a streaming option or in the right format, Perfetti should be rostered in more leagues
One concern is the return of Kyle Connor here in a few weeks. Where does that put Perfetti?
Yeah, so I'm wondering, with Nikolai Ehlers there, you've got Perfetti, you'll have Kyle Connor. Who's getting pushed down the lineup, right? Like,
I think that's great for Perfetti when Connor coming back. Great, and great for the whole team.
for sure it is, yeah.
Yeah, obviously, when best goal scorers in the league. But I'm a Perfetti owner in a dynasty league, so I've been a big fan for a couple years now. But kid's got great skill set and IQ. Skating's not the greatest, but he gets around, and I'm curious what the Jets do with Kyle Connor coming back, because Gabe Vilardi and Ehlers and Scheifele have meshed really well together. They've done quite well, and I see an opportunity for them to slide Connor in with Perfetti and Nemesnikov and maybe create like a solid second line. So it could actually be great for Perfetti. But regardless, even if it's Vilardi getting bumped down to play with Perfetti and Nemesnikov, it'll spread the talent out a little bit more. Might affect him on the power play, but ultimately, yeah, Kyle Connor coming back is great news for all Jets players fantasy wise.
There you
go. Next guy on our list here, Mr. Jake DeBrusk, Boston Bruins. So, bit of a slow start. Sorry, at 9 points and 5 goals over his last 8 games played. Looking more like a viable streaming option here in fantasy again. Since December, he has got 5 power play points and has solidified a top 6 spot next to Marchand and Coyle. Ooh, a 29.2% I like that.
I thought you'd like that, Bruce. Yeah,
it's nice. It's a bit of a cause for concern that probably isn't too sustainable.
no.
But if DeBrusk can start shooting the puck a little closer to his 3-year average at 2.6 shots on goal per game, may help offset some of the correction in his shooting percentage. I didn't really follow DeBrusk that much this year.
He's been disappointing, I think, like to start the season. And we had high hopes for him. We talked about him in the summertime, thought that's a guy that might score 30.
Yeah.
Might score more, just depending on where he's playing in the lineup. But excuse me, he's had a tough time putting up some offense. So now it's good to see him put up, over a point per game here in this recent stretch and just kind of lock himself into the top 6 with Marchand. I think is good. He's still going to get power play 2 time, right? So you can't rely on the power play points so much, but looks to be turning his season around, which is good.
Hey, he's a great player. He's a lot of fun to watch. A lot of hustle. I see him as like a perennial, like 20 goal, 20 assist guy kind of thing. So he'll have stretches where he looks fantastic, and then stretches where he's struggling. So, but Boston, Boston's going to be a wagon for a couple more years here still. So he's solidified his spot at being in that top 6. That'll be good for him. And I'd say if you own him, I'd hang on to him, because I think Boston's, they're going through a bit of a lull now, and they're going to correct it, and they're going to come out of it and kind of finish the season closer to how they were starting it.
Every year we say the Bruins are going to regress completely, and they don't. So we'll just keep saying that they're going to be a terrible team next season, and they'll be a great team. Just
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Just because. All right. That does it for the hot list. Now let's go to the not list. I really don't like seeing this guy on the not list because I've got him on my one fantasy team. Pavel Buchnevich. So he's Yahoo 67%, Fantrax 91. So Mr. Buchnevich here has only had 1 assist over the last 6 games played. He's now on pace for just 64 points over 82 game season. 64 points, which for most players would be a fairly successful season. But Buchnevich has had paces of 87, 85, and 73 over the past 3 years. Fantasy managers that drafted him expecting that level of production are no doubt disappointed. Some good news. His ice time is up. Just shy of 20 minutes a game. Shot rate's on track, 2.7 goals per game. That's 8.3 shots on goal per 60. Second highest of his career. 8.9% Tevish suggests some room for the regression. And his 11.9 shooting percentage is a little bit below 14.7, which is his career average, and then so that's his lowest in 4 seasons. So hopefully he digs himself out of it here fairly soon. I'm having a slow week in my ESPN team. I need these guys to pick some stuff up.
Yeah, I think my point with Buchnevich is that if you drafted him expecting a 90-point Buchnevich, you're for sure going to be disappointed, and I don't really think that's going to correct this year. I don't have a lot of high hopes for St. Louis, to be honest, right now.
Yeah, he was a later round pick for me. He was just, I had him last year, and he did well last year, even with his injury issues and that. And so figured I'll pick him up again this year, and he's doing okay. I guess but my team's in tough this week. I have Minnesota laying 2 eggs in a row, and I've got 2 or 3 wild players on each of my teams. So
I think more disappointing, Bruce, is actually this next guy.
Mr. Stutzle, you want to talk about Timmy?
Well, I just excuse me. He's just been struggling the same way that the Ottawa Senators have, right? And this is a guy that put up, well, you played at a 95-point pace last year, and now he's on a 77-point pace this year. I guess luckily, I said, was that Stutzle is shooting at a career low of 6.7%, which is down from his 3-year average of 13.3%. So there's a couple things that might be working in his favor that you have some reason for optimism. Obviously, if you hold him, and Evan, maybe you can talk to this, but if you own Tim Stutzle in fantasy, dynasty or otherwise, you're going to hold on to him. It's really frustrating right now to watch.
Yeah, truth be told, this week I just traded for him in my fantasy dynasty league. Gave up Olin Zellweger, Dylan Guenther, and Ken Johnson. So I gave up a good package of prospects for him. And with his struggles this season, he's still at a point per game, so he's still having a good season. But you expected him to take that next step. To get much more than 95 points is a hefty task for any player. So just hovering around 95 would have been kind of what I saw for him this season. But like you'd said, the Sens it's just been a train wreck of a season, and I chalk it up mostly to that. Now, what's going to happen the rest of this year? I don't know. I don't know where the Sens are going. They haven't seemed to been able to right the ship, and they don't seem too dedicated to right the ship too by naming Jacques Martin as their coach.
Yeah, strange move.
Yeah, I get it, but now that Steos has slid into the GM role, what were they waiting for then? It seems strange because I was under the impression that there was a assistant GM somewhere in the league that they're waiting for the season to finish to be able to scoop them up and let them name the coach and blah blah blah. So whether that fell through or I don't know why they hung on to DJ Smith for as long as they did. But yeah, to answer the question, you hang on to him. It's just frustrating. I think he will write it because I don't think his power play numbers aren't very good this year either. I don't even know if he has a power play goal this season.
They're down, and actually, that was one note that I made here too. Is that over that that stretch of 6 games, his power play time is down to 2.5 minutes, so 49% power play share. That's down from his season-long average of 3:45 per game, and just about 60% power play share. So he's actually losing power play time in the second half of the season here, which is not great.
Yeah,
but.
Yeah,
buy low candidate, like you said. Like good on you for making that move because I think that's going to pay off some dividends for you in the future.
Yeah, and I have a big stockpile of prospects, so it wasn't something that hurt too much, but really it was just kind of it was an interesting move because right after it, the Ducks moved Drysdale, so that opens up a spot quicker for Zellweger to move up. Dylan Guenther just got called up and he put up a goal and assist in his first game, and Timmy does nothing for the games I got.
Oh, that was awful.
Luckily, I'm still in tank mode, so I'm I don't even want the fantasy points. So, but yeah, the guy who I traded with, I'm sure he was happy about the trade. Immediate returns for him. So,
yeah, there you go.
No doubt. All right, do we want to beat on this guy some more, or should we skip over him?
Yeah, I don't think we need to dig into PLD too much, but I was going to mention that since November 29th, he's a -9, and he's got just 5 points in 18 games played. So he's really struggled to return any value, fantasy or otherwise, for the LA Kings.
Yeah.
Which I actually personally love, being an Oilers fan.
Makes two of us.
We talked about how devastating that center depth was going to be, and on, and it may still be at some point. But we talked about it last summer too, Bruce, when the trade happened. I really felt like they sort of hurt their depth, moving out guys like obviously Perfetti, Iafallo. Because you bring in one guy,
Velarde, not
Velarde.
Perfetti. Yeah,
sorry, Velarde. Yeah, my apologies. Yeah. So it's just I looked at that.
There was a third player too, was there not?
Yeah, I'm trying to think who it was right now. Velarde, Iafallo, and
Kapari? No.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, good call. Good pull, Bruce.
But
yeah, PLD. That's I don't know. I don't know what's up with the guy. Like, it's everywhere he goes, it seems to be something that kind of follows him along, and so he got what he wanted. He's in LA. He got his big contract, so there's no excuses now. And he got shifted down to the fourth line the other game, so they're trying to send a message to the guy. So I don't know what. Luckily LA's still hanging and they're still doing well, so I think they'll be okay. But yeah, it's for a first year of a big contract like that. I would have thought him and Fiala would have been the perfect mesh together, and throw whoever on the other.
Yeah, for sure.
So the next guy on the list, you don't even need to edit your notes sheet here. You can just keep them on the cold list all season.
Permanently, yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you want to go into it, Evan? You want to talk about Mr. Korpisalo?
Well, without further ado, yeah, another Senators player that's having a rough season. Korpisalo's got one win in his last 9 games, with a beautiful 4.18 goals against average and 8.67 save percentage. Those are just some. In 9 games, those are some awful numbers for your starting goalie. Yeah, no wonder the Sens are having a tough time. For me, with Korpisalo, I didn't love the signing from day one. I think we talked about it last time. He had a great little stint with the Kings there. But in the playoffs, he wasn't fantastic. And his career numbers are in that above 3 goals against average and save percentage sub 900. So I thought the contract wasn't warranted. But also you got to look at things too, with the Sens, with their track record of Talbot and Gustafsson excelling the years following leaving the Sens. Is this more of a system thing with the Senators, or is this a goaltending coach thing? So it's there's a lot to look at, but yeah, not a great first season for a new big contract like that.
You could add Decord to that too, because Decord came out of Ottawa too.
Robin Leonard.
No. Yeah, Robin Leonard. Yeah,
crazy, hey.
So sell. If you're holding Korpisalo for any reason, you shouldn't.
Yeah, he's a wave, that's for sure. Yeah.
I made the joke. What was it, 2 weeks ago? My ESPN team, I went to 0G. I drafted Korpisalo and Darcy Kemper as my goaltenders in late. I've dropped both of them, and they are both still sitting on the waiver wire. Nobody wants them.
Nope.
Well, that's what Ryan and I talked about last Friday on Puck Dynasty. It's just if you're in a 1-year league, you almost don't draft a goalie in the first 100 picks or so, because it's just you look at the goalies that are hot right now, none of them are household names. A lot of them are probably waiver eligible.
Yeah. I listened to the episode, right, and that's it was just the goalie situation this year has been really strange.
Yeah.
Was it last Wednesday we talked about Cam Talbot, who was drafted either really, really late or on the waiver wire in some leagues, and he's top 5 and 2 in categories in the NHL. I
think it was Ryan maybe who mentioned there was, or Evan, maybe you had said this too, but there was all those people out there that were the Phoenix Copley truthers, right? It was
I was to a certain extent at the beginning of the season. I thought Copley would get more of a run than he did, and
I was Team Talbot. 100%. And I think actually, well, that's okay. Now it's coming back to me because Ryan and I both were Team Talbot, right? It just made sense with Todd McClellan, right?
Yeah.
We've seen those two have success together before, and the system that LA plays, it just made sense for Talbot, right? He was going to come in and be the guy.
Yeah. No. Phoenix Copley, the guy, he had a great stretch last year, and don't get me wrong, he kind of saved their bacon for a bit in the regular season, but yeah, Cam Talbot was brought in there to kind of solidify and be that 1A guy, and yeah, he's at a good resurgence, but yeah, it's nuts the goalies that come and go to Ottawa and how they do better elsewhere.
Just go there to die. It's kind of like Edmonton, actually.
Hopefully Stuart Skinner doesn't die.
Hopefully Stuart Skinner doesn't die, but we've had lots of goalies like that.
And speaking of goaltending issues, one that usually not used to seeing on the cold list, Mr. Andrei Vasilevskiy of the Tampa Bay Lightning. So it's been a tough season for Mr. Vasilevskiy. First time in his career with a sub 900 save percentage. 2 wins in his last six appearances. Say that twice really fast. 3.36 goals against, 867 save percentage, and a minus 5.45 goals saved above expected. Tampa does find themselves in the second wild card spot. For how long, though, is the question. They have not been playing well.
No, tough season for Vasilevskiy. So I guess, Evan, for you, from a dynasty perspective, or even just from a season-long redraft perspective, what are you doing with Andrei Vasilevskiy?
Oof, that's a tough one. I play mostly salary cap leagues, so he carries a hefty cap that comes with him.
Mm-hmm.
Hefty cap for a goalie, you need some production, but you have to hang on to him. Like he's just coming off an injury. He's put on so many miles, so he needed the rest too. So yeah, I say just you ride it out. I think it's nothing more than just kind of like getting his footing underneath him, get his confidence back. He'll rebound and finish the year strong. He's with having a rough year, and with how goalies are having rough years in general, he's still a sub 3 goals against average and just barely below a 0.9 save percentage, which is really not great numbers, obviously, for Vasilevskiy, but those numbers will get better as things tighten up and it becomes a little bit more like playoff hockey. But yeah, the Lightning in general are just a tough team to kind of like peg on what's happening here. Like they haven't really lost that much talent, but it's just, I don't know if just the miles are starting to wear on them or what it is. What do you guys think?
Some injuries too, right? Like, because isn't Sergachev out right now too? He's dealing with some injuries.
Sergachev is out, yeah.
Right. I mean, Killorn, he overachieved last year, but I mean that's a good depth player on your team, right? I mean, he can play top 6, he can play middle 6, whatever. So they've lost some of their depth. I think Steven Stamkos is getting a little bit older, right? He's like, I think it's some of it is just the wear and tear, but I think they're a team that like they've kind of got that killer instinct, and I agree that later in the season, when it's kind of playoff hockey, and as they get a little bit healthier, and Vasilevskiy gets his legs under him, I would be surprised if they miss the playoffs again this year. But
I think they just lost Tanner Jeannot too to injury. Yeah, week to week.
Well, that's not really a big loss, is it?
Well, he was kind of the internal replacement for Killorn that they were hoping for. You know, they traded a whole draft for the guy.
Basically traded into.
But yeah, and you know, speaking of a lot of miles on, like Victor Hedman, like that big frame and the amount of minutes that guy's played, like that's slowing down a bit over time here, and so yeah, I think it's just more of just the price tag of the kind of success that they had.
But you know, I'm just looking at the standings here too quick. Like, there's teams they should leapfrog. Philadelphia being one of them, right? Like that's a team that like how I still understand what they're doing. The Islanders, the Devils, the Capitals, the Penguins, Detroit, like these are the teams that are in the mix for the wild card, and it just Tampa should be better than all of those teams.
Yeah, I agree. Well, you could say the same for the Penguins too.
Yeah, and agreed.
Yeah. Penguins have had ridiculous puck luck this season, though. Like their expected goals for is so high, and they simply just cannot string together a bunch of wins, and anything sustainable.
I want to see
misses the playoffs. Jesus,
I want to see Sidney Crosby in the playoffs.
I know
it's not the same. It's not the same when Sid's not in the playoffs.
Yeah. Agreed. I think they'll still do it. There's just too much talent on that team, and so maybe that little melee the other night where Crosby got who was it that hit Crosby? Was it Lawton in Philly? Did you guys see that? Where it's kind of blindsided Crosby? Yeah, it was open ice. Crosby wasn't looking, and Lawton, it wasn't a headshot or anything, but he got him solid. Puck wasn't there or anything. And then like Letang and everyone went after Lawton. So it was Letang came out of it like blood. He looked like a warrior, blood dripping down his face. His hair's all over the place. That's and Pens came out with a win on that one. That was the night that the Pens were taking it all out on Cutter too in the intermission. So yeah, it was a rough day for or not the Pens, sorry, the Flyers. Rough day for the Flyers, but yeah, that might be something that rallies the Pens around here as well. Speaking of teams that are just kind of struggling to make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, and Gino's still been good, so it's and Ricardo Cal. We talked about him last week too, I think.
Yeah, solid.
Yeah. Well, Bruce, it's past my bedtime, I think.
Is it? It's only 11:30 local time. It's got
you guys
not that late.
Doing it this late.
Yeah.
It's only 10:30 for Evan, so.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got time.
I could still watch the highlights and goes up and go to sleep. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
go for it, Bruce. We got 5 minutes left here.
5 minutes left, so I guess that's unless you got anything else you want to discuss, that's basically it for tonight.
That'll do it.
You guys got any trades happen recently in your leagues?
No, I have nothing going on. Nothing cooking, actually, to be honest.
How are you doing?
Not even a low ball offer from Tyler lately.
Nothing, no. Work's been busy, but the strange thing is, like, 2 leagues I'm kind of just not in it right now. It's like it's too far gone. But in our ESPN league, Bruce, I'm still waiting for Ottinger and Kyle Connor to come off IR. So when those 2 guys come back, I'm feeling pretty good about my roster in general. I picked up some guys who are like probably outperforming what they should be. So I'm 8-5 in that league right now. I still have hopes that I can do something this season, but we'll see what happens.
I think I'm 10-3.
Yeah, you're having a good season, Bruce.
Bruce, nice.
Yeah, 10-3. But like I said, my team is very, very forward heavy. My goaltending is terrible, and my defense is suspect. So if my forwards don't do anything, it's ugly, and this is going to be one of those weeks where it's ugly.
Nice.
Although I'm only down 19. It's better. I was down 40 earlier in the week, so
there you go. And Evan, what about you? You said you were tanking in the one league.
Yeah, it's my last year last year I had what I thought was a really good team. I got stuck with some goalie troubles. What did I have? I don't even remember. I traded everyone. I put everyone on the market, and Ryan and I did a massive trade. We should talk about it sometime when both of us are on there. But yeah, traded everyone, tanked for the pick. Didn't get the Bedard pick, but ended up with the Leo Carlson, and then I traded for Mitchkov as well. And then plethora of I'm just loaded with prospects coming up through the ranks. So I'm thinking like this year, aim for Celebrini. If I don't get him, I'll either go Yzerman or Demidov, and then start making a run next year. And I'm starting to pick players like Stutzle, where it's I'm a big advocate of like either you trade an elite player 3 for 1 in a keeper league, or to get an elite player you trade 3 pieces for 1 too. And so it's the formula that works best, I find, to kind of like, so you're not giving up too much to get an elite player, you're giving up 3 lesser prospects kind of thing. So that's where I'm at, and trying not to win games. I'm the one the commissioner hates. Is like, these tankers, they try to figure out rules to stop us from doing it. But
that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's
Just
an
donating my
interesting.
money. That's all I'm doing. So
It's an interesting because a lot of the trades and stuff that we get, at least that I get, are always they're 2-for-1, 3-for-1, and stuff like that. And I just I don't like doing those. I like it to be an even balance when it going both ways. But
that's fair. That's fair. Are you in like a? Do you mean in like a dynasty league or in more of a 1 year league?
it's a 1 year league.
1 year league.
I don't know if I have the mental capacity to handle a dynasty league.
Oh, they're so fun.
I think if you need someone to be cannon fodder, I think I'd be the guy you want to add in your league. This guy's clueless. I'll just send him this trade. Oh, that looks good. Click. That's good. Let's go. You're
Well,
like,
we're
I just froze
so
that guy.
Ryan and I are so like we just love prospects and love junior hockey and college hockey that the dynasty league helps feed that obsession too. And it like kind of gives almost purpose to following prospects and also like puck dynasty as well. It's like, well, watching a college game, I'm working for the podcast. Come on. So
yeah, no, Ryan, like, and before I met you, but like talking with Ryan at Rolco, like he just knew all these players. He was so into it, you could tell, like, and he would just talk hockey all the time, right? So it was like, it's been great to have both of you guys jump onto us and just like fill that gap to be able to talk about prospects and dynasty, because that's just something that Bruce and Tyler and I just really have not spent a lot of time on. So
no, I listened to one podcast. I got really excited about dynasty, and then I spent about one evening researching it, and my head felt like it was going to explode. And like, oh my God, to do this all year round. There's no chance I'm going to be able to do this and live. Like, it's just too much information.
Bruce, we got about 20 seconds here, and then we're off the air. So,
all right. So I guess we'll wrap her up here. Thanks everyone for listening tonight. Catch us on Sunday, our Fantasy Hockey Hacks podcast, and then we'll see you back here next Wednesday on the Hacks Hangout. Thanks, Devin, and thanks, Evan.
thanks, guys.
Hey, that rhymes.
Have a great night.
Take care.